I have had a lot of inquiries recently about people who've got animals in their lives that are at the end of their life.
Here we go.
Good. Yes, they might not want to listen to this, but oh, how adorable. Oh, hello, darling. Who's that?
This is Sigge.
Oh, yeah. Oh, how gorgeous. So I don't know if he'll want to listen. He might want some advice for this. So there's a lot of people that one of the most traumatic things you can do as someone who's got animals in their lives is when to make that decision to have
Yes.
the end of life. And it's you know, however many times I've been through it, more times than I care to remember, both with my own, but also it's something I do offer to other people as well to make sure if they need that extra support. But it's a very, very traumatic time for the humans as well as the animals. Are there any, I know it's a huge subject, but from your experience with going through this so many times with different species, are there any sort of words of wisdom that you could share for humans watching this?
Well, I think there is one story that would be helpful, because it was to me, although I still miss that horse so much that I still struggle to accept that she went, because I didn't see it coming. She had a neurological injury that just flared up, and it put her in a situation where she couldn't stand up. And she was another chestnut mare. She was a very free spirit, and the idea of being, hanging in something or being confined, it was not an option for her, and she couldn't stand without that kind of support. So she made me realize that this is the end of this body. And for many animals, it is only the end when the body can no longer be used for expressing the inside. We think that they want to leave when there is a slight sign of pain, but I would say that most individuals that are happy with their life, they can handle some pain. I mean, the idea of having a life without pain, I don't think we can expect that. Suffering is something else, but pain is part of growing older to some extent. And this wasn't a painful state, because she had no feeling at all in her hind legs. But she came to the conclusion that this body can no longer express who she is, and for her to not be able to run freely, it was the end for her. So she was lying down, and I asked all the people to leave who was helping, trying to make her stand up. So we were lying down next to each other, looking at the clouds for hours. And she explained that she probably by the evening, when the sun would set, it would be time for her to leave. And then she explained what I think could be helpful, because she said that when you know that you are dying and you have accepted that, it means that all your defense mechanisms that are put there in order to help you to survive, you can let them go, because you don't need to survive anymore. So you have no more anxiety, no more fear. There is this complete freedom that can only perhaps be experienced in that specific time of your life. Because the rest of your life you are meant to survive, but now you're not anymore. And for most individuals, it would be very, very helpful to, or it's a deep wish to be able to experience that. So she wouldn't want to be put down while she still feels that freedom.
Yes.
But then she said, after a while, in her case, if she was in the wild, she wouldn't be able to reach food or water, and then the body would start to starve, and then there would be suffering. And in the wild, a prey animal would know that exact time. She said that is their duty, to see where this spiritual freedom changes into a physical suffering. That's when you will be eaten by another animal. And now when we are protecting them from that by fencing and stables, and then it's actually our role to see that exact line. When does the freedom of the expression of the individual turn into a physical suffering? And that is when we need to go in and either help them. I mean, some animals here, they die by themselves because their condition is such that the suffering will not be long, and they might prefer not to get the help of being euthanized. But in her case, it wouldn't be so, because it was in her spine. So she would die from starvation, and that was not an option for her or for me. So I called a neighbor who is a hunter and who sometimes helps us, and I explained the entire situation for him, because this was, of course, weekend and evening, as it always is. And he said, well, I understand exactly what you mean. Just tell me when she has reached that point, and I will come. So I think, as hard as it is, and I will always find it hard, but that really helped me, knowing that, okay, for as long as there is a freedom of expression and this you are still able to experience who you are, the body still give you that option, then most of us wants to live. Life wants to be lived. Most of us wouldn't want to die before our time. But when we know that from this point on, there will only be suffering, and I'm done. When I communicate with animals that are ready to die, they always express a feeling of contentment.
Yes.
So if this contentment isn't there, it means that we're not ready to go.
Yeah.
So if someone just expresses a desperation, or saying that I can't stand this anymore, I can't stand this anymore, I'm thinking, this is, unless you have a twisted gut or something, then it's not usually a sign for being ready to die. It's more of a psychological suffering. So I think we can see this dividing line, but most of us would put down the animals before then, I think. So they don't get to experience this old age, where you are no longer actually, your role in the herd is no longer so physical. You're more of a spiritual asset, and you're much more free. I think we can see it in elderly people too, who are done being the good girl, and now they are completely free, and they don't want to die then, even if they are lame and hunched back or whatever. So it's the same for animals. But then, of course, we have the animals that are finished and ready to go, but we cannot release them because of our emotional issues. That is another problem. Because then we don't see the need of the animal, we just see a projection of ourselves.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that say they can't live without them, and that can be, really, really difficult for the animals. That's so helpful. Thank you so much, because it's something we're all going to have to go through if we're lucky enough to share our lives with animals.
Yes.
Last weekend, one of my guinea pigs died in my arms, and but it was weird. I was called to go in and see them just at the time I was needed, so that was great that I could be there with her. I could literally talk to you all day.